It's Speaking with Gravity. I'm Kervin.
I'm Taisha.
I'm Josh.
And we are your hosts on this podcast. We talk about mental health and how everything affects everything. With every episode, the goal is to have a conversation that's going to make you think, make you feel, make you do what is best for you. I'm a therapist, but this isn't therapy. It's a podcast. Today, we don't have any guests. We have our regular host, which actually, we never really formally introduced you onto this season as our official resident host.
Let's go.
So here we are, maybe the 7th, 8th, 9th episode of this particular season. And as y'all can see, he here. He been here the whole season.
Let's go.
And we appreciate you. So, formally introducing him as an additional host of Speaking with Gravity.
It's a pleasure too.
Thank
a
you
pleasure.
For
It's the best. It's the best podcast around.
Best
man.
decision you've made in the last couple of years.
It's one of the top.
Okay.
For real, I was looking at getting into podcasting, and I think this is the one right here. I think everybody should share this podcast, man. It's such great material being shared on here. Such great content, and it's about mental health, but it's like we have fun though.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Mental health is fun, so let's have fun together and let's promote great mental health.
So today we talking about roles, and that's what Josh did. He played his role until we gave him the opportunity to come through and really like shine. And he ain't even make no fuss. You ain't even say at the beginning, "Hey man, you need to go ahead and do this."
Oh, you talking about
at the beginning of this season? You didn't say, "Hey, you better go ahead the next time and tell them that I'm an official host."
Oh yeah, I just you know
just played your role.
I just got in there, got in where I fit in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about our Twitter discussion.
Yeah, Twitter discussion.
It's a good one.
Coming from your new host.
9 episodes in, 8 episodes.
9 episodes, right. Repeat after me. Twitter discussion. Repeat after me. Wife, daughter, mother, sister. When you become one, the family you come from is important, but the family you create is now your priority. This is from an unknown Twitter user.
It's not unknown. I didn't want to. I know this person personally, and I didn't get in contact with them before we recorded, so I didn't know if they wanted to be put out there like that.
Well, shout out, unknown. Shout out to
that person. She had an interest. This post to me spoke to this episode of being completely aware of roles. What my role is, what other people's role are in my life. That being said, wife, daughter, mother, sister. In this particular one, they talking about a hierarchy.
Don't ask me that.
Oh, I already know what mine is.
What's yours?
I completely agree with this one. Wife, daughter, mother, sister. Do I feel good about having my mom third? No. Do I feel necessarily good about having my sister fourth? No. But to my mom's credit, she the one that taught me this. Wife, daughter, mother, sister. So she gonna know if she listened to this episode, she gonna know where I got it from. I got it from her. But I feel like and the wife and daughter thing is real, it's real thin. But at the end of the day, I chose my wife, and hopefully, I'm not in a toxic situation where my wife is constantly testing me as to whether I'm going to pick her over my daughter or my son. It just
hopefully not. Yeah.
But yeah, she come first. But with knowing that clears everything else for me. That sets the expectations for our relationships. That cuts out so much unnecessary stuff. Now, mind you, I'm also I have a son prior to our relationship. And I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, but he wasn't here long. Well, he wasn't here. He wasn't here long before we got into a relationship, is what I'm saying. Like, I didn't have a son, for 10 years, and then my wife come along. That would be difficult to put her first after you done already set the precedent
Ooh.
for 10 years of having a child prior to you, and of course you're gonna put that child first if you're not in a relationship with that child's mother, and you're not in a relationship with anybody else. You're gonna put the child first
Before your wife, then?
No,
Before, prior to.
If the child was there first,
Yeah.
it's hard to then I still feel like it would have to be this.
I still feel like it too.
Yeah, it would still have to be this, but it's gonna be super hard. And that's gonna be a lot of difficult conversation for the child and for the wife, because you have a child prior to, and most people are gonna put their kids first.
That is difficult. That's something you got to really think about, and have those conversations about.
But this was,
I don't know right now what my order.
I found this, I saw this on Facebook, and it was some conversation on there.
Oh yeah,
people. No, man, they usually gonna put that child first.
Yeah.
But then, I do couples counseling too. That can become an issue. That can become an issue. All right, so QD of the hour.
QD of the hour, which is another version of fun facts. Information for you to be able to give your friends, family, colleagues, church members. Development psychologists emphasize that it is parents who constitute the most important role models, in that their influence is crucial to their offspring's personality development.
And I think you said this last episode.
What?
Yeah. When you said something about mirroring the man in the mirror.
Oh.
Well, you was talking about man in the mirror, but you also talked about mirroring.
Oh, yeah.
And typically that's what's gonna happen. Like kids. Kids are gonna mirror what they see in their parents and their auntie, uncles.
Good or bad too.
Good or bad.
Right.
Cousins. They're gonna mirror what they see, but that parent is usually the first one. And most instrumental.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. I don't know if it's Jesuites or Jesuits, but them. That's why they really believe to train up a child from the time at birth until 7, so that you can kind of help shape their conscious mind because we're all, we're programmed. I think we discussed this too on the previous episode, but it's so important, for us to expose our children. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to even say that. It's just important to be mindful what we expose our kids to during that age, because their subconscious mind is being programmed. And 90%, 95% of the time we're operating in our subconscious mind. So that 5% of the time we're operating in our conscious mind, whether that's getting up, doing our daily routines, 90 to 95% of the time I'm going to go back to those things that I was exposed to. So between 0 to 7, if that subconscious mindset was starting to form, by my environmental settings, I may again go back to those same comforting measures, whether good or bad, to possibly manage problems throughout my later childhood development, adulthood. So it's just important. I like to call it brain food. Brain food is important, throughout all developmental stages of our lives, but particularly from the time we're in our mother's womb until like 7 is crucial. But if you guys, check more of that out on your own.
What did you say it was? Just what?
I think it's Jesuites or Jesuits. I got it from Dr. Bruce Lipton. He's a doctor, and he just really emphasizes epigenetics, and this is something that, you guys can just kind of do more research on. But he always highlights that. And I've heard other scholars mention the Jesuites or Jesuits. Again, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And just that important concept that they believe. And I think it's important. And then science continues to reveal that too, just, developmental stages and things of that nature.
And just for clarity, like epigenetics is the belief that you can alter your genetics by modifying your behavior, and not by taking medications, which we've kind of talked about stuff like that prior to. But I got to go look that up. I don't think I ever, not the epigenetics part, but I haven't heard about the Jesuitites or whatever it's referring to. And I can't find it. I tried to Google it real quick, but I can't find it right now. Probably because I haven't I can't pronounce it.
It's like J
I can't
E.
J-E. I can't pronounce it, so I don't know how to write it. But the roles we play in our families greatly influence how we see ourselves in relations to other people. And that's a big line right there. The roles we play in our families greatly influence how we see ourselves in relations to other people. I want y'all to bring me back to that sentence. And continue to repeat our early family, what you just said, and continuing to repeat our early family roles allows us to stay in familiar relational territory. We should always be aware we never have to stay locked into roles and dynamics, whether they are problematic or not. I think people forget that. Like we're ever changing. Like every day we're learning, we're experiencing things, and things are affecting us and the way we believe things, the way we see things every single day. And so our roles, therefore, is bound to change as a result of that. I always ask people like where they are in relations to the family. Are you the oldest? Are you the baby? So on and so forth. Because based on that, you're treated a certain way. But, and then there are times where I can see what they are, and then other times I can't. Because that person, not to say that other people haven't grown, but they've had other experiences that so affected them that you can't see that they're the oldest or they're the youngest or they're the middle child. And going to me, I'm the middle child.
I'm the baby.
Well, I say I'm the middle child. My mom had 4, so I was the second oldest. And the reason I connect more with the middle child is you had my oldest brother, then you had me, then you had my sister, who's the only girl. So she's a form of a baby, I guess you could say. She's the only girl. And then you had my baby brother. And I've said this, I don't know if I said it on the podcast or not, but I said it a lot. Growing up, everybody knew my mom had 4 kids, but they would always forget me. I was the forgettable one. Because they remember the first one. They knew that my sister, she's the only girl, and it was like, oh, you just had a baby. And, just if I'm with her and she talking about her kids, like, oh, I don't remember seeing him. I used to get that a lot. Mm-hmm. And so that tends to rub off on you. You feel forgettable. You feel like, oh, okay, I'm just here. Now I didn't necessarily internalize it, but I saw where at times, as I got older, I would overcompensate for that. Yeah. And so I would have to check myself on it. But that role definitely played an effect. Had an effect on me. So when we're talking about roles, even with me being quote unquote the middle child, but I was also the second oldest. So when we're talking about roles are a set of expectations, which people. Let me just read it. A role is a set of expectations about the ways in which people are supposed to behave in different situations. And when it says supposed to behave, is what we think we're supposed to, the way we think we're supposed to behave. So if I stay right there with the family dynamics, I always felt like I was kind of like, I took care of my brother and my sister, my younger brother and sister. I had a go-to person, which was my oldest brother. But me and him was together. We were the people who would take care of my sister, my younger sister, and my younger brother. So I was in a caring role for a minute. I was 5 years older than my sister. So I'm caring for her from that point on. And I took some of those expectations and they walked with me through the rest of my life. But then beyond that, even now, one of the roles I have now is a therapist. As a therapist, I'm caring, I'm understanding. People, when they find out, are more likely to go ahead and share stuff with me. I could be sitting at a restaurant, and if they find out I'm a therapist, they'll be way more willing to share information randomly to me than they would if they didn't know if I was a therapist. That's a role I have. I can't think of any other mom. Well, I'm a father. I'm a husband. I was trying to think of some other roles, like work roles. I can't think of any right now.
Entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur, yeah. And with that particular role, like, as an entrepreneur, your mind never really shut off when it comes down to like how to make money, if that makes sense. Like, how can I take this brand and make it work for me? Which leads me to, I might end up developing an app. That's neither here nor there.
Man, so with all these roles, how do these roles, you think affect your do you ever feel like, I want to say how they affect your mental health, having all these different roles, do you ever feel like pulled into different things, like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm also this. Do you ever feel the pressure to be something? I feel like to act within your role.
Yeah.
You feel the pressure to act within your role?
Mm-hmm. I think we all do. I mean, I'm sharing with y'all what my roles are, but everybody got multiple roles, right? Mm-hmm. But to answer your question, yes, I feel I'm involved in the church, so I feel that pressure too. What I try to do is compartmentalize each of these roles. Sometimes they mesh and sometimes they separate, right? So church and therapy are two totally different things. I try not to mesh those two things, right? That's real scary if I tried to do that. But with that being said, the compartmentalizer, how do I say this? The compartmentalizer, I know what role I'm getting ready to go into. So if I'm in a therapy role, if I'm going to work to provide therapy, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to work. When I come home from that, this is where it gets difficult. Because once I come home, and I'm not a therapist, but I have therapeutic interventions, if that makes sense.
What's wrong with that?
I'm thinking about, like, so if I seen, this is, I guess, real close here. If I'm seeing a teenager and I'm dealing with a teenager, right?
Sure.
The stuff that I'm seeing or dealing with that teenager on, I am thinking about my teenagers. So you might get a "I love you" randomly from me because of what I dealt with that day. They mesh. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but the "I love you" or the hug from out of nowhere or the letter that I'm writing is because I want you to know X, Y, and Z. And that came from a role that I was playing earlier.
I think that's great, that example.
Yeah, that could be. But what if, and this has never happened, but what if I'm in session? This has never happened. Sure. But what if I'm in session and I'm talking to, I'm going to say a girl. I'm talking to a young lady, and she tells me how she snuck out the house last week and went and go hook up with Bob and Sheila and Ray. Like, now.
Bob and Ray Ray?
Bob, Ray, Sheila, all of them. And now, when I come, now I come home and I'm locking doors. Uh-huh. That would be bad because I'm meshing in roles. I'm taking what I learned in that particular session, and then I try to come home and apply it. That ain't good.
That ain't good, but you can come home and you can have a talk with your kids, though, about, or you can use as an example, like, hey, yo, I was talking to this kid.
I can't.
You don't want to do that.
I can't. I definitely can't. As I tell people that I'm working with, I can't go home.
That's confidential.
Yeah, that's confidential. Yeah. I can't go home and tell my wife, well, guess what? I hurt today. Oh, guess
Big
what?
facts.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I got you.
Or my kids.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, I feel what I'm saying is I feel like you don't have to lock the doors. I'm not challenging you. I'm just thinking about it a little differently.
no, I don't.
I
but
don't feel like you have to lock the doors.
It's
but I
hard
feel
for
like,
it not to mesh though. Like it's hard for these roles not to kind of intertwine with each other.
What I'm saying is, if you go home instead of locking the doors, maybe you might think, you know, I can have a talk with my kids about sneaking out, or I can talk to them. I can talk to them or something about sneaking out. I don't know. But it's like you don't have to go to that extreme. You know what I mean? To say I'm gonna lock the doors. You know.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
That don't mean it won't happen. It's constantly. When I say it don't mean it won't happen, I constantly have to check myself with regard to my job as a therapist specifically. I have to constantly check myself and analyze and what is it? I want to say just be more aware of what's going on with me, how I'm processing what was given to me. Mm-hmm. But even beyond that, like to go back to your original question, yeah, I get overwhelmed sometimes. And I have to step back and say, no, I can't do this at this moment, or I need a break from this. With therapy itself, one of the things that I did this past summer was I took a lot of vacations and I went to trainings. So that gave me a chance to retool, not just the self-care part of it, but the training side of it. The go in and be around like-minded people, other therapists, and what they're doing, learning more about a diagnosis or a coping skill. That helps to kind of retool me, give me what I need to continue to go on.
Gotcha.
And then it's just so much more. Like I'm talking about therapy and my role as a therapist and stuff like that, but roles are big. Like it's more than just your work status.
Right.
It's more than just.
Most definitely.
It's roles. We have roles all the time, like in every aspect of life.
And I think what I was getting to earlier, like in talking to you about that, like I said, I wouldn't challenge you or nothing, but I feel like your roles sometimes can work together to make you who you are. You know what I mean? Not necessarily make you, but being a therapist at times can make you a better father. You know, if you're really thinking about, like you say, not necessarily having to lock the door, but making the decision to maybe communicate with your kids on a level where you address something like, that incident where the kid was sneaking out the house. You know what I mean? That's a lesson that you can teach your kids because you're a therapist. You know what I mean? So it's like we can really use our roles, the roles that we play, and how they mesh together to really empower ourselves and other people around us.
I didn't share this either. Going on, and you said I can use that role to make me a better father, right? Just recently, I guess after George Floyd situation, I'm not only a therapist, I'm a black therapist. So diversity was so big right after that happened, and the role of being a black person came into I ain't gonna say it. I don't know if I should I say it made me a better therapist, or it was just easier for me to get into understanding diversity. Like
It added to.
Yeah, it added to it. Like I didn't. Of course, I've been through training for diversity, but it's just like it's second nature to me. It's like okay, I'm living this every day. You don't have to explain certain stuff to me. You know, I know what it means to be considered a minority. I know what it means to be a person.
You know, I'm big on that minority term. We are not
considered.
Listed.
We're considered minorities, but what's you're big on it because of what?
We're not less than.
Okay.
You know that. What does the term minority mean?
That's right.
Less than a majority.
And who says we are less than?
Right.
You know, so I just try to be conscious of that when they speak of people of color or minorities. You ain't talking about me. You're not.
Because if a child look up minority, like I say, that's you're gonna see less than the majority. You know. So yeah.
So like D, if she was here, that language play is real, which ties into roles.
Most definitely.
And then even as a another side of it is as a black therapist, I feel the need. I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I feel the need to push mental health to my community because it wasn't necessarily like we haven't been gung ho about talking about it or accepting it, even though we live it every day. We just growing up. What I heard, and I've said this on previous episode was, oh, they got bad nerves. I never heard of depression as a teenager or as a middle schooler. I didn't hear about depression. I didn't hear about anxiety. I didn't know anything about that. I heard you got bad nerves. Or in one situation, and I don't know this for certain, but now that I look back on it and the being in the field, I feel like this particular person in my neighborhood was schizophrenic. But what I heard was he went away off to college and somebody put something in his drink and he came back this way. You know, that, no. And it really may have happened. But it's mighty funny to me, some of the people who are displaying symptoms associated with schizophrenia are always described as somebody put something in their drink. But that's just how we explained it at the time when I was growing up. So as a black therapist, one of my roles in my mind is to talk about mental health, to get it out. That's the podcast. That's the goal of it, for us to be. I think you said it earlier in this episode, maybe like we're talking about mental health, but make it fun, make it a conversation that we can all have, so we can either better understand it or accept it from day to day. So
I feel you too with the role of being a black therapist. I know it's not my duty per se to continue to educate people within our community or the black folk, about mental health. But then part of me feels like I'm doing a disservice if I'm not, So just like I said, using the platform here, speaking with gravity and other things we do, just to educate our people and being okay. I mean, it's kind of twofold. You got to be able to receive it too and want to. And we make it as fun as possible, as relatable as possible. But, people still got to want to grasp it. But also to speak the language, you know what I'm saying? Because, again, we know the myth around mental wellness within our community anyway.
So what happens when you have a role, y'all, that in your life that you don't like? Like the black sheep of the family. Y'all ever heard that term, black sheep? Yeah, like the outcast. What happens? I want to ask y'all, how y'all feel about that for someone out there that, might feel like that. What happens? What do you do?
You gonna go further?
You go ahead.
I just feel like, I'm not going to...
I hate that title, black sheep of the family.
I'm not going
really
to identify myself as that, or even if family members have tried to label me as that, because I'm not accepting that label or role, and just understand that I move differently from everybody around me. I don't do the things that's considered normal or whatever you're trying to label me as a black sheep, whatever I'm doing differently from others, whether I'm just more isolated, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to view myself as a black sheep. But I guess the question, if people do...
And not just black sheep, but a role that you don't like. Like, you may be the bad kid. You know what I'm saying? I got cousins that grew up, and when we got older, they said, Josh, you was always the good kid, and I was the bad kid. You know what I mean? Or I was treated differently because, you know what I mean?
You gotta. I think that's one of those things.
And they identified with that throughout their lives. And that's why role is so,
It's so much in what you're saying, right? You can look at it from the individual standpoint, where did I do things to be considered the black sheep of the family? She made the comment of, am I withdrawing myself? Am I in a family where everybody normally gets together and they hang out, they joking, they laughing, and I'm the person that really want to be by myself, and be away from it, and so therefore I am considered the black sheep of the family. Well, if I like being by myself or away, I need to be okay with that. I need to understand that that is who I am.
Need to be okay
I
with
am
it, yeah.
not the black sheep. That's just who I am. That's a part of me.
Yeah.
And it's a part of you for a reason. Like you get it from some. When I say you get it from somewhere,
It's
you
nothing wrong
are-
with you. Yeah.
It's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Your mom and your dad came together to make you. All right. Your dad had characteristics. Your mom had characteristics. They come and put them characteristics together, and boom, there go you.
And how people treat you does not constitute who you are.
Right.
It's true.
How
Right.
people treat you
Right.
does not
Exactly.
constitute who you are.
But
you know?
when you a kid,
When you a
going back to that 0 to
Come on.
7 or 10, 11, 12, and you're constantly hearing these labels, thrown
have
on
an
you. Oh, you the
effect.
bad cow. You need to be more like Josh.
Yeah, you know?
And now you start to internalize that and thinking that,
Internalize, come on.
Words matter.
right, I'm this bad kid. So then it could lead to you misbehaving. I already think I'm a bad kid anyway, based off of
Come
what they
on.
said. So I might as well do what society thinks bad kids
telling
do
you.
by X, Y, and Z. And then, boom, when I'm 25 and if I continue to make certain choices that lead me to being incarcerated or running into the law, whatever the case may be, deemed problematic, people don't want to take accountability for sowing that seed when you was 6 or when you was 8,
They don't-
and comparing him to his cousin. And now he probably looking at his cousin like, you think you better. It
Right.
could just create this whole whirlwind of negative perceptions about self and other people, which can lead to what we now know is depression, anxiety, other mood disorders, or just vibrating at a low frequency, Sorry to get off topic.
No, you're not
you
on top.
know.
Yeah, I mean, you're not off top.
When you talk about
Okay.
people taking accountability, you mean like your family or the
Yeah,
people?
your family, your family,
Because
you know.
and sometimes, and I've seen that too, where family don't want to take accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's like they don't really understand though. That had how much of an effect on you. I think
Or
this
they
conversation
they
is
feel
important.
like it shouldn't have that.
They feel like
message.
it should,
Right.
And
But
you
you
can't
don't
never
know
say
how
what nobody should, how nobody should
You
feel.
don't know how people
Right.
gonna process stuff. You really
Exactly.
don't. You don't.
Which is why you gotta be real mindful. And I think as families, and not even just speaking black families, but I think in general families, we gotta be careful how we treating these kids. You know what I mean? What we're saying, even what we're doing, because guess what? Somebody can pick up a role. You might not be treating someone, say in a way where they feel like they're thrust into this role, but they may pick up a role from you. If you got a mama who's got men in and out all the time, guess what? Little girl might pick up a role after picking up on those behaviors. She might pick up a role because behaviors eventually, create a role. Sometimes, can create a role.
Yeah,
So
you're right. If they seeing stuff, again, we talk about mirroring, right?
yeah, mirror. Yeah.
So if you seeing that stuff, either you think it's okay or you aspire to do it. We talk about not getting off topic, but all of this stuff really go together. I remember watching Martin and saying Martin had a girl, and I thought Gina was like the prettiest thing in the world.
I like Pam.
You like
Even
Pam?
back then, I
Pam
don't know.
Pam was voluptuous. She was thick.
Yeah, I guess that's what that's called.
But I like Gina.
Okay,
And I wanted to have the apartment like what's his name? Martin. I wanted to have the girl like Martin, and I wanted to have my friends come over and hang out. And that gummit if I didn't try to go do that.
yeah.
I hope you
It stuck
incorporated
with
the
you.
style of Martin too, because we got to get Martin back in the '90s. With
Martin
his overall
Payne, let's
style.
go.
Yeah,
Oh man,
yeah.
I just had to throw that in.
He had them
From
shirts.
the
Some of those
J's
shirts.
to
he
the
had.
crew neck,
Well, he had
tracksuits.
what was the yeah, you're right. Tracksuits, crew neck. And I felt like he got that from Bill Cosby, because Bill Cosby had the
let's
sweaters
give praise
and stuff like
to
that.
Bill too.
But that wasn't in my house. I didn't see that from my parents, but I saw that on screen, and I was like, let me try to go do that. And you find yourself, you said, taking on roles. You see something that you desire, like I'm gonna go do that. You don't even know what it means,
Right.
but you go out and try to do it. But go ahead.
I was agreeing with you. And another thing, careful how you labeling your kids or letting other people label your kids too. Schools have a bad habit of that too, labeling your kids, because once a kid feels a certain way, and then think about what they are watching on TV, if they start identifying with, negative behaviors they see, you might think, why is my kid starting to act like this going down this road,
I think
Could be what they're watching.
no. Well, when you said school has a bad habit of labeling kids, and they have traditionally they have. I don't know if I just had really good experiences or are they changing, because I feel like in the meetings that I've had throughout my kids' time in school, I've been so frustrated. But not because they labeled my kids in a bad way, but because they were just using positive term after positive term after positive term. I'm like, he ain't making the right grade that I want him to make, and you giving me all the good stuff that he doing. What about this What about this homework that she not turning in or he not turning in? What about him being absent from this class? And it's like they just focus on the positive, which is a good thing. But when I hear people say schools label, like, what are they labeling something that they need to label, if that makes sense? Like if a kid comes to school and every day they throw a chair, and somebody comes to say he's a chair thrower, so we're going to get mad at that person for labeling something that we see every single day?
I think it go back to that last episode that we were talking about. When you see something like that happening, not asking the questions. I think if you're asking the right questions and really talking to that child, instead of saying he's
Just
a chair
labeling.
thrower,
Yeah, okay,
you know what I
I
mean?
got it.
Asking why are you throwing this chair? Like what's going on? I think investigating a little more will help you to not label, but
Or if you label, at least have the data to go along with the label.
Instead of just your biases and
Yeah.
preconceived notions based off of stereotypical behaviors and all of that.
do your homework.
Yeah. And understand everybody is an individual, so just because because we switch from roles to labels, and they kind of intertwine too a little, but yeah, just like you said, doing your thorough assessment, even if you don't know really how to fully assess, just the simple question, well, what led to this?
Yeah.
Why am I labeling him a chair thrower? Why is he throwing a chair? I know everybody may not go to that, but I think that is important. But going back to the roles, as the parent, let me dissect a little more, because what's going on? Is this happening at home too? Or is it just in the school setting? And then, again, woman, man in the mirror conversation, what's going on in this environment? And I know oftentimes we don't even take the time out to reflect throughout the day, on what we're doing, which is why it's so important to tap within, whether it's 5 minutes a day for yourself. I know it's hard for me to believe people, to say I don't have time for myself.
Shoot, I do.
But and if that's the case, okay, well, today we're going to start making time for ourselves, because if we can make time for everybody else, whether it's an organization we getting up to go to, to provide, our basic necessities, whether it's for my kids, my husband, whatever, vice versa. What about me? And if I ain't including me on this platter of things that I have going on, I'm missing out. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm not investing within self, just taking a few moments to reflect, all right, what's going on? Is things flowing, the way I think smoothly within the household, not judging myself, just a simple reflection. Then possibly, okay, well, I ain't really in the home setting. Maybe it's the school setting. Let me go and, figure out whatever the case may be. But I just think that's important. I know I always highlight that, but it's so important.
Let me ask y'all, what role do y'all feel like y'all play in your friendships? And are they different? Yeah, I'm going to give y'all a 2-part question. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, are they?
What role do you play among your friends? And are they different from the role that you would have in a intimate relationship?
I feel like with my friends, I play the role of the sound voice, the voice of reason, voice of wisdom. You might want to do that, but let's think about this. Let's think about this first, or just being that voice of reason. I think a lot of times my friends will call me, about certain things, and they know that I'm gonna give them good advice. They know I'm not gonna, mislead them or tell them to do nothing wrong. Which if they want to do something wrong, they're not gonna call me because they know I'm gonna be the voice of reason.
Yeah.
And I feel like in my relationships, there are a lot of moments when I assume that same role. But that's just a part of me, though. I feel like, and a really cool thing about it is some of the jobs that I've been on in my career, I've been able to do the same thing. Be a voice of reason. Going back to helping people, in their careers and whatnot.
You've been able
giving
to,
advice to businesses. Yeah.
You've been able to monetize what you naturally do.
Man, I think that if you can do that, I think that's a special thing. If you can do that in your life, if you can, something that you really are, that's incorporated into your role, into one of your roles, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's a special thing.
What about you, Ty?
I guess I've been able to monetize a little bit.
What role you play with your friends?
Initially, I want to say you can ask them, but I know they're not here. But I don't know. I mean,
we'll call them now.
I'm supportive. I try to listen.
Okay.
And I'm thinking as I've grown, because I'm not going, for the most part, I'm trying to focus on the positives. I think I've been a great friend, to those who are my friends, with the exception of maybe one, as I reflect now as a 32-year-old versus a 17, 18, 19-year-old, and I can admit that. But overall, I've just always been super supportive, like going with the flow type, So I guess that falls kind of under supportive. I'm still going to be that voice of reasoning like you, Josh. I'm not just going to go with everything. It's like, I'm going to hear what you have to say. So I guess a attentive listener. I try to be attentive to what people are saying, but then kind of throw my 2 cents in if it's needed, trying to be mindful of not offering unsolicited advice or suggestions. But at the same time, if you're my friend, it's like I'm gonna be real with you, and if I can't, why are we friends, So I think I've just been supportive. I'm a great listener. I've gotten that from a lot of people, a lot of my friends. I'm a great listener. And I try to always highlight the positive in things,
That's important.
It could be the worst of it. I'm like, but at least whether they want to hear it or not.
Ty, are you the get you out the house?
No, because I'm
friend?
the one. I used to be.
I don't
But
know why
now-
I
You
feel,
used to
I
be
don't
the
know why I
get you
feel-
out the house friend?
Like, girl, you need to come out. Like, girl, come on, have some drink.
I used
girl, you need to get
to-
over him. You need to come on out.
Oh, nah.
You're not that person.
Not anymore, because I don't really go out as much. But prior, I mean, what's the mood, Ty? What's going on? This is when
good.
all of us are coming
Okay.
home, so I would be the person to know what's going on around town.
How did I
And
know
I was
that?
going to be the one to go. Every day if we're all out, I'm going to be the one to go Monday through Friday, whatever the case may be. But now,
Oh, so you want to tell us about that part?
I'm
She
talking
didn't wanna
about
tell us
Monday
about
through
that.
Friday, out. If that was,
We should expound on this more.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be out, especially in my early 20s. It's something going on, especially when I lived in Charlotte, Pittsburgh, even coming back home,
I know Charlotte,
for vacation, holidays or whatever. I'm out.
And you pulling people out
But
the house.
now I'm just
I knew it.
Do that
reserved.
do that translate into like the intimate relationship? Because like as I'm listening to both of you guys, right?
Second
For
part.
me,
yeah.
I was the person
I was just about to ask you. What about you?
very much like you. I was like, all right, I'm going. I know the spots. I'm going wherever, except for Greenwood. I never knew the spots in Greenwood. But I'm going here. And then when it came to relationships, because I went out so much, I wanted to keep that going within a relationship. And so now it actually goes into traveling. Like I like for us to go as a family. So
That's
that
your
kind
role,
of worked
yeah.
together for me in a positive. Except for when I ain't got no money, then that ain't good. But for the most part, it worked together. And I didn't, and she allowed me, because even up until we got married, I was always to go out. And once we got married and worked together, she wasn't like, "Oh no, you can't go out no more." And that helped me transition from, all right, I eventually slowed down, but I took that role that I had as a friend of being the person to know where to go, and I put that into the relationship. But I was also a giver. Like, I'm the person that's buying around. I'm the person who like, all right, everything on me. We're gonna go here. Everything on me.
Okay.
That don't work good when you in a relationship and y'all sharing money, y'all sharing bills. Dang good. So I had to learn not to be that giver.
But you still probably are in some ways, though.
In some ways, in ways that's
So you just
beneficial
mindful
to her and the family. Yeah.
Yeah.
But outside of that, no, I'm not giving. And then I say lover. Like I love everybody. So it's like I'm
like
gonna keep
that.
up with people. I'm gonna make sure
That's real spill.
I know where they at. But I wasn't necessarily, you know how you were saying you were supportive and understanding? I wasn't. Like not in college, because I just assumed everybody that was with me, that was riding with me, they was good. I ain't have to check on you. You know, we both we went to school, we graduated, we in college, everything going
That can
great.
be a role. Curvin is a don't care type of That can be a role. Come
I
on
guess I
now.
had some
Somebody
of
can
those
identify you like
tendencies, too,
that.
though, in the
Because a role
beginning.
is, part of how you identify.
Yeah, I mean, they may have identified me as that, but
I was just putting that out there.
I definitely was that person until I got more into providing therapy and realizing that people need somebody to confide in. And then I became a little bit more supportive and like, hey, man, is everything good?
So that role in therapy changed another role for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Different roles can change.
Message.
Yeah. Yeah.
Facts. Message.
Yeah.
Y'all seen the movie, right?
The movie,
Message.
that was what movie that was?
Don't be a menace while drinking. Or drinking your juice in the hood.
I ain't know that.
You ain't never seen that movie? Oh my God!
Oh man,
we're gonna have to have a black movie day for Taisha. We're gonna have to do it.
So it's one of my roles is letting people know like about movies that they should know about.
That's one of yours.
It's one of my roles. Yeah.
Okay. Are you a movie head?
So, I just like I don't know. Am I a movie head? I don't know.
Oh.
But that movie was it's a Wayans Brothers movie, and they made it was like a
remake of something.
It's like a pun,
a parody.
A parody on like a bunch of movies on South Central, on Juice, on Boys in the Hood.
At the time, a parody on like all the black movies that was out at that time.
Okay.
Facts. Yeah.
And then, like he was saying, they would come up and they would deliver a real message. I think it was pretty much positive message.
It's a positive message.
And then they would say it, or somebody would make a statement, and then somebody would pump up message because they didn't want you to miss it. Like, all right, we're making this stupid movie. I say stupid,
but
there are messages in there.
Yeah, and that was a good message. I had it. Yeah.
See, we talking to our audience right now about
you
black
believe
movies.
it.
Yeah,
that's it.
All right, so we talked about let's see, how can we end this? How can we kind of wrap this one up? You said to me, I think you said, how do these roles play? Do any of us talking today, do we get trapped, or do we feel trapped by those roles? I guess we kind of went over that when we were talking about being a black sheep and being somewhat labeled into a role.
You be trapped in good roles too.
Having to live up to that role, because if you grow up from a violent family, then the expectation is that you're going to be.
That's how y'all solve your problems.
Yeah, and people gonna be expecting you to ride like your parents did or your older cousins did, so you can feel trapped by that. Like, I gotta be this person when I'm really the opposite. I'm really a nerd. I don't want to fight, or I don't want to be in the streets. I want to go off to college.
Yeah, I'm smarter than that.
I think that was in that particular movie too. Some people really they don't want to be. I hate to say it, that was a point of contention back when I was growing up. A product of their environment. That's how you do become a product of your environment, by being trapped into a role that was placed on you. And instead of you breaking away, you decide to go ahead and just kind of delve into it and just play it. But have y'all ever seen that? Ever heard of that? Personally, affect you?
Being trapped in the role, and yeah. I feel like, and we're so much. I mean, our roles is just how we identify. We gotta just keep coming back to home with that. A role is just how you identify it, whether it's good or bad. You know, people can identify you as, you know, a really smart individual, but you got to keep doing your homework. You got to keep studying. You know what I mean? So me being trapped in a role, I think for a while.
Being the clean cut guy that you are, did you ever get trapped into that role of being clean cut and articulate?
Well, kind of because of my perception of the role. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like because I was clean cut that I had to do stuff a certain way. You know what I mean?
Was you trapped into it, or you just like, that's what I want to do?
I might have been trapped for a second, but I feel like really thinking about. I feel like I really thought about it. Like, well, I don't have to. Just because this is what's expected of me, I don't have to do everything by the book, by that book. So to speak. So I don't feel like I was really trapped in it. You know what I'm saying? Talking about the clean cut, being clean cut. Because I started challenging myself to not be so clean cut. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That I ain't gonna say in some of those times weren't you know what I mean? Weren't some of the best decisions probably was made during those times. But I learned a lot though.
Yeah, I mean, we always learning.
Yeah.
And I guess I did.
So I guess I
trapped.
was kind of trapped. You know what I mean?
I felt like I was trapped.
Because I was trying to get out of that a little bit. You know what I mean? And it wasn't that I didn't like being that. It's just, you know what I'm saying, the perception of it.
You wanted to experience the other side?
I wanted to. I probably wanted to be looked at a little different, not as clean cut. I'm fine with being looked at as clean cut, but I feel like that means from A to Z. You know what I mean? What about W? You know what I mean? It might be an exception in there somewhere, and I want you to notice the exception. You know what I mean? I want that exception to stand out as well. And after a while, though, you just like, it don't matter. You know, if somebody, if somebody has me in this role, it don't matter. I know who I am. And Ty is always talking about coming back to yourself, which is why it's so important. You'll be in these roles, why do you feel trapped, I guess, would be the question. Do you feel trapped because of your perception of how other people think you should be? Probably so. So you kind of, to me, it starts with not worrying about what other people think, knowing yourself, encouraging yourself, and you aren't your roles. They could be contributing to some great things in your life, but they aren't you though.
Yeah, I know. You said why you feel trapped. I felt trapped with being a preacher's kid. Church, and of course, because I'm a preacher's kid, I was identified. I think somebody said, "Well, you just a church boy." I ain't want that.
They used to hit me with that.
Yeah, you just old church boy. I didn't want that, and I felt like the other side was greener. The grass on the other side was greener. It was cooler not to be a church boy. But then I had to come to the conclusion, yeah, I am. I'm definitely a church boy, and I'm cool with being that. And like you say, going back to yourself, recognizing who you really are, and then what other people feel or say or do, it don't matter. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Do I want to do it? Do I not want to do it? If I am a church boy, I'm going to go to church. I'm going to do right by people, right? Not to say that people who don't go to church don't do right by people, but that was one of the bases for me, right? I'm going to do that. And then if I do some other stuff, I do some other stuff.
Define yourself for yourself.
Yeah.
Somebody said that. I don't know.
Define yourself for yourself.
Yeah.
Dang, that's dope.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna end it.
Tyler,
I guess right here. Ty, you want to say anything else? Since Josh
nah.
trying to put you on.
I thought me and you. Yes, I didn't know if she did or not. I don't remember.
Josh trying to put you on the spot, ain't it? Okay.
Nah, y'all pretty much said everything, honestly.
All right, so we go. I guess end it here with knowing your roles, and we are. I'm gonna make sure I say this right from the beginning.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. The platform.
Ooh.
With Young Garvey.
Ooh. Okay.
Joshua Williams.
Just Garvey.
Oh, just Garvey. Okay.
Just Garvey.
Josh Garvey Williams.
Look up Young Garvey. You might see some stuff I don't want you to see.
He has it. Okay. He has a platform. Let's talk about it. That questions, that give questions to make you think about life, health, family, culture, and so much more. He is on YouTube. He's also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of those. But if you go to his YouTube first, then you can find the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to his
Full
YouTube
episodes
first,
on YouTube.
which he has a lot of clips, man. It's pretty dope. You want some positivity in your feed or in your life, your entertainment diet, then you want to go check him out. Subscribe to Speaking with Gravity on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We'll make it easy for you and put it in the notes. All your event needs, check out 6-1 Event Rentals. They got the 360 booth with the red carpet. We'll link them in the show notes as well. Don't forget about Dee, who's not with us today. She had some other prior engagements. But she's with Kodak Ready Consultants. You know, just Google that and it'll come up. But we got the link in the notes as well. And myself, I have Gravity Counseling Group going on where I provide individual, family, and group counseling. Working on a workshop and some wellness stuff that we're going to try to put together in the upcoming year. Shout out to Mr. Winston for holding down the audio and visual production. Check him out on winstonjstewart.com. And thank you for taking the time to listen to us. You could be doing anything in the world right now, but you chose to listen to us, and I appreciate that. Remember, I'm a therapist, but this isn't therapy. It's a podcast.